it? It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
Most certainly is. Welcome to the morning show. We got a lot to talk about, and most of it's Major League Soccer. Let's see. We've got the news that Nico didn't want to break yesterday that broke. We got news in Seattle. We got news in Portland, or at least the reports out of Portland about what may or may not be going on, since we talked about that yesterday with Evander and what he posted on social media after 2 o'clock in the morning East Coast time. Also followed up with what Ryan Clark said at the Oregonian. There's more reporting coming out from Tom Bogert at GMS. We have the year-end awards finalists in Major League Soccer to go over. Morning, Alex. And we also have the MLS salary figures that were released yesterday as well, where apparently one player makes more than the full salary component for more than a handful of teams. And I know that shocks you when you're talking about one particular individual that plays down in Miami. We got all the other playoff games going on this weekend as the MLS postseason starts in earnest in the best of threes. Didn't know if you knew this, but Atlanta United is already in Fort Lauderdale, getting ready for the matchup tonight against Messi and friends. And that is it's a bit of a goofy start time. So we'll get into that too. So just be ready to balance your high school football with your football. Morning, Sharif. Glad you're here. So we got plenty to talk about this morning. So trust me, whatever's on your mind, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will go through it all this morning. We've put out in morning, Harry. You're in with us early. We put out the bat signal, so basically anybody that wants to crash can crash. As traditionally these Fridays are now turned into basically open phones for any and all of our guests and experts that want to drop by and everything. Harry, one of the few times I'm rooting for Atlanta United to beat Messi and friends. I think that you're probably not in for a double negative. You are not in a minority opinion. So I think everybody's somewhat rooting for the chaos to continue, and especially here in the FEA zone, known as the Southeastern United States, involving Atlanta United. All right, so that's what's on the table this morning. So whatever's on your mind, like I said, after this, we'll probably get into the MLS end of season finalists. We'll get into that. And like I said, we got the salary stuff, we got the playoff stuff, we got all the stuff. Trust me, we got all. And Jose Mourinho got tossed yesterday from his Europa League match and started mocking officials, and apparently wants to come back to the Premier League. And it looks like there might be like Everton or Crystal Palace or something like that. So, yeah, the options are getting smaller and smaller. But the New Saints also pulled out a big win yesterday for Europa Conference League, I think. So, big win for Welsh football. All right, so opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And when you click on the QR code, you start your day there. And don't forget, remember, you click on that QR code, you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You hit that QR code. Don't forget when you check out to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so I saw this, and I couldn't resist it. And, you know, we deal with stupidity down here a lot. We have to reset the number on the board with the hard hats and everything. So when we reset the number, we're always looking for moments like the one that I'm about to talk about. It happened in the English Championship. So there's one club that's basically like, yeah, we're kind of tired of your ish. And so this comes from our friends at PA Media. Luton have reported a racist comment sent to forward Elijah Adebayo on social media during Wednesday night's championship match against Sunderland. He had been subjected to racist abuse online last season, playing in the Premier League, which at the time left Adebayo tired and contemplating not reporting the matter over his disillusionment. Luton said the latest incident had been reported to both the police and to Meta, now being investigated. Meta confirmed on Friday the account in question had been disabled and that it was in contact with the club. So the club on social media decided to say the following. Is it ever going to stop? 12 months ago, Elijah Adebayo was subjected to racist abuse on social media, a wave of vile and disgusting messages pouring into his account from faceless racists. Fast forward a year later, and it's happened again. At 8:28 BST on Wednesday evening, an account in the UK on Instagram messaged Elijah with a racist comment after Elijah notified us following last night's game with Sunderland, in which he scored his first goal of the season. We reported the incident to police and to Meta. It is now being investigated. Just like we said a year ago, and just like we'll do whenever a player or staff member is subjected to abuse, we will stand by and support Elijah unequivocally. Here's the fun part. To the individual who cowardly dropped into Elijah's DMs, we know who you are, and you know who you are. You're not a faceless account, one which we have sadly become accustomed to reporting in recent years. But as if you have the balls to come to Kenilworth Road and say it to his face, we dare you. If you do, you'll be faced with everyone at Luton Town Football Club standing side by side with Elijah. Abuse of any kind is unacceptable, but does everyone know that? That's why we're doing our bit to educate everyone that racism and all forms of abuse is abhorrent and unacceptable. And then they added, we're all Luton and we will continue to support and champion these initiatives until such time that the message gets through to the ignorant minority. But the question remains, how much longer will our players, our heroes, fellow human beings for crying out loud, be targeted because of the color of their skin? There is no room for racism, end quote. I love what Luton did. And if the shipping and handling ain't all that nasty, I'm probably going to get Luton gear and wear it on the show. I might even get an Elijah Adebayo jersey and wear it on the show. But as if you have the balls to come to Kenilworth Road and say it to his face, we dare you. I love that. Frankly, I wish I'd seen more of this from clubs. We've gotten into the discussion about, and Vinicius Jr. is another thing we got to get into here in just a second, since we're on a stupidity down here version of the opening kickoff. But we've talked about how we would handle it. Specifically, the Vinicius Jr. case, you'll remember a little bit ago, we were basically like, okay, turn it into a club-based Oklahoma drill where the guy has to apologize on site. He can't do it from the front door of his club. He's got to go and do it in Vinicius Jr.'s home territory. It cannot be a home game for the idiot. You got to do it on the front steps of the stadium of the team that you're yelling at, and then let the discussion continue. But I love what Luton Town did. Love the fact that they did that. As if you have the balls to come to Kenilworth Road and say it to his face, we dare you. Good on you. Way to go, Luton. Ashifa Kassam at The Guardian, as we continue stupidity down here on a Friday. Police in Spain have arrested four men accused of coordinating an online hate campaign that called for racial abuse to be hurled at Real Madrid for Vinicius Jr. Police said yesterday that the men, all in their 20s, had been detained as part of an investigation into social media posts circulated before Atleti took on Real Madrid in September's derby. The posts, which are believed to have had more than 1.5 billion views, urged Atletico fans to attend the match wearing masks so they could insult Vinicius without being identified. Quote, and this is what the police said on social media, using social media, they called on fans to show up at the stadium to hurl insults that had racist connotations. The online campaign swiftly gained strength, setting off, quote, significant social alarm, police added. As the campaign made headlines across Spain, La Liga said it would lodge a formal complaint and demand that those behind the campaign be arrested. Quote, the campaign constitutes a crime of incitement to hatred, clearly typified in the penal code. They said that the day before the derby. La Liga welcomed news of the arrest. These acts do not go unpunished and have their consequences, the league said, as it vowed to continue to fight and hate racism in football. You've done such a fine job so far. Remember the stuff with Vinicius Jr. March. Vinicius Jr. put it all out there for everyone to see what's been going on. Back in March when he admitted everything. He prompted anti-racism campaigners to call on Spain to do more to address racism. Remember, we talked about back in June the Valencia fans sentenced to 8 months in prison for hate crimes against Vinicius and what La Liga described as the country's first conviction related to racist abuse at a football match. Thursday, it was 4 arrests carried out in mid-October, and that further arrests could be made because the investigation was continuing. Guardian continues, the impact of the viral campaign also remains under investigation as a government-backed anti-violence commission looks into allegations of racist abuse after the same match. The Spanish Football Federation sanctioned Atleti with a €45,000 fine and a 3-game partial stadium closure after supporters threw objects at Thibaut Courtois. Just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean you get to be an idiot. But apparently that is something that folks feel that is they're entitled to do. Throwing water bottles. And I'm not just talking soccer, as we've seen during college football season. Throwing water bottles, throwing batteries, all the stuff that we've seen overseas, effigies, stupidity in general. But good on Luton for sticking up to for their player and sticking up to the idiot. That individual, once again, doesn't need to be inside the grounds of any football match ever again, any place, anytime, anywhere, and twice on Tuesday. Spain seems to be taking some inroads and making some progress. It's not fast enough, and it started way too late, especially where Vinicius Jr. is concerned. But it's a start, and I guess that's what we have to look at here on a Friday morning. It's a start against stupidity down here. And what we've always said is that we are going to put the sunshine on stupidity down here so we all know about it, we're all on the same page, and we can all call it out appropriately. But good on Luton Town for backing their player and literally calling out the genius on social media. Hey, you want to do it? Do it to his face. Come on up to Kenilworth Road. We'll be waiting for you. I love that. I'd love to see more of that. I hope that happens. Anyway, that's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us this morning. And you start your day with that. And then use the code Soccer down here 15 when you check out. Get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%. Reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Mogul in Training, Michael Parker, is set to join us in about 10 minutes for the Friday Free Kick to talk about what's going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring. We'll talk about playoffs. We'll talk about playoff mindset. We'll talk about what it's like to be in the playoffs for his Rhode Island FC. We just don't know the where yet. Which reminds me, I need to send a note to Rhode Island FC to see if we can get Conno Smith on the show on Tuesday to talk playoffs. All right, so there's been a lot of awards announced, or at least finalists announced and things like that. Yesterday, it was announced Brian Schmetzer gets a contract extension to be in Seattle for the foreseeable future as the head coach of the Seattle Sounders. So that was kind of what Nico was alluding to, and when it finally came down, and it was kind of not a surprise, really. So it's another couple of seasons for Brian Schmetzer to be in charge in Seattle. Tom Bogert's update at GMS over about Evander. Remember, Evander posted what he posted 2:00 in the morning. According to Bogert, the post on social media wasn't the only disagreement he expressed with the club in the locker room after the match. After head coach Phil Neville and GM Ned Grabavoy addressed the team, Evander spoke up, told Grabavoy he was to blame. Multiple sources tell Give Me Sport. Give Me Sport spoke to 7 sources with direct knowledge of the situation to get to the bottom of the standoff between Evander and the Timbers. One source said, quote, "It's very simple. It's a contract dispute." There was a contract offer on the table for Evander of $13 million over 3 years, $4.3 million AAV. Evander's current contract pays him an annual compensation of $2.36 per the salary data released by MLSPA back yesterday. That offer would have been the most lucrative contract in club history, AAV higher than current deals for Lucho Acosta, Denny Buanga. Evander would have been just outside the top 10 highest paid players in the league. That offer is no longer on the table, according to sources. Sources say Evander's camp were content with the salary numbers, but insisted Portland inserted a $15 million release clause into the deal. Timbers did not want to both hand out the richest contract in club history and agree to a release clause. Another source stresses it's not just the contract value. Evander and his camp feel the club has broken his trust, and he cannot believe any promises. Dates back to the club's process to sign him originally back in 22. Sources did not specify, according to Bogert, what promises were broken. Evander's been one of the three best players in the MLS this season. 15 goals, 19 assists, 24 matches. Second season after joining as the club record signing from Midtjylland, ahead of 23. One part of the negotiations this summer, Evander's camp wanted a new contract to start on August 1st. Club wanted the new deal to start in 2025. It was one of the many iterations of the talks. Along the way, GMS revealed September 9, Portland rejected an offer of $9 million from a Qatari club. Portland would not entertain an offer to sell their star towards the end of the season. After the MLS transfer summer window had long closed, they'd be unable to replace him. Evander prefers to stay in Portland on a new deal, per multiple sources, though another source pointed out the desire to insert a release clause as a contradiction. Evander confirmed his plan to return in 25 publicly in social media, posting, "We'll see you next year." One source speculated, given the public nature of the dispute, he may have played his last game for the club. Several other sources disagreed, strongly expressing optimism there's a path forward for the player and club to continue. One important relationship amid the drama is Evander and Phil Neville, who took over ahead of the 24. Sources say the two are very close, have great respect for one another. As contract talks soured, that relationship was key to keeping things moving forward on the field within the group. Several sources with direct knowledge of the locker room of the last two seasons described Evander as a great teammate in person. At one point, when the relationship was particularly tense, Portland faced LAG. Evander, described by sources playing mad, delivered a man-of-the-match performance, 2 goals and an assist. Didn't smile or celebrate with either goal beyond embracing teammates. One source said that was deliberate. September 19th was when the match was. GMS reported the Qatari offer 10 days earlier. So that, according to Tom Bogert, is what's going on with Evander and Portland and the front office. So you've got that this morning looking at you. So let's get into the year in award nominations. We can talk about that. Well, I'll lay them out here. Michael Parker's joining us in a couple of minutes, and then we'll talk about them as a part of the 10 o'clock hour. I think we're going to have a special guest off the top at 10 o'clock. This individual is probably, if they can get a cell signal, going to be at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, Spaceport, and Way Station on their way to their weekend duties. So hopefully we'll be catching up with an individual before they hop on a plane at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, all the MLS. We've got the salary stuff to talk about. We got the awards to talk about. I don't know if you know this, but Atlanta United's taking on Inter Miami. That's coming up tonight to start the rounds of 3 in the round of 8. So the finalists were named end-of-year awards. The below finalists earn the highest average of votes from the following groups: MLS players, MLS club technical staff, select media members representing local and national outlets who consistently cover the 2024 MLS regular season in 2024. I was not one of those individuals in category number 3. Landon Donovan, MLS MVP finalists: Benteke, Evander, Cucho, Messi, Suarez. You know how I am about Lionel Messi. For me, some combination of Evander, Cucho, and Luis Suarez, because of what I view the MVP to be. Siggy Schmidt, Coach of the Year finalists: Chris Armas, Tata Martino, Wilfred Nancy. All 3 understandable nominees. I am of Club Wilfred Nancy. Newcomer of the Year: defined as a player with previous professional experience who made his MLS debut in 2024. Luca Orejano from FC Cincinnati, Gabriel Peck, Luis Suarez. What I think is going to happen is Suarez gets newcomer and Messi gets MVP. Like I said, I have no inside intel on the voting or the voting procedures. This is just what my gut tells me, is that it's going to be Messi getting MVP and Suarez getting newcomer of the year. Young Player of the Year finals. Given to the best young player during the 2024 regular season, eligible players must be born on or after New Year's Day 2002. Diego Gomez, Diego Luna, Christian Oliveira. Defender of the Year. Jordi Alba, Steven Moreira, Jackson Reagan. I would go Moreira. Goalkeeper of the Year. Kalina Lloris and Patrick Schulte. I'd go Kalina because of the number of clean sheets and that he kept Charlotte in their season with his activity between the sticks. Comeback Player of the Year finalists: Robin Lod, Maxi Morales, Lewis Morgan. Honors an MLS player who's overcome a severe injury and or adversity, thus missing a significant portion of the 23 season, shown improved performance to achieve success during 2024. Might be Maxi Morales. Audi Goals Drive Progress Impact Award finalists. This is your Community Service Award. Honors an MLS player who showed outstanding dedication to charitable efforts in serving the community during the 24 season: Andrew Farrell, Driver, and Ilie. Driver, otherwise known as Darlington Nagby. Referee of the Year finalists: Drew Fisher, Guido Gonzalez, Lucas Sapala. For the best performing head referee of the 2024 MLS season. What best performing head referee translates into, I don't know. MLS AR of the Year finalists: Kyle Atkins, Logan Brown, Jeremy Hansen. Best performing assistant referee of the 2024 MLS season. Like I said, I do not know the parameters that are being used to say the best performing head referee, the best performing AR. I don't know what that means. Are they the ones that can look past any issue and sit there and enunciate during a VAR the best? I don't know. Do they use their whistle the clearest? Are they the most proficient in using it in situations? Are they the most expressive with their hands to get their points across? Best performing head referee, best performing assistant referee. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the parameters are. Did you do your job well? Did you do it the best? Like I said, don't know what that means. But those are your finalists for the end of year awards. Messi and Friends, the most represented, with 6 finalists across the board, followed by Crew with 5 and LAFC with 3. 15 separate MLS clubs, winners announced throughout the Audi 2024 Cup playoffs. I imagine it's going to be probably from the last set of nominees, working our way back up the ladder to what we talked about first. So it's probably going to be your ref and your AR. Then it's going to be your Drive Progress Impact Award finalist, Comeback Player of the Year, Keeper, Defender, Young Player, Newcomer, MLS Coach of the Year, and MLS MVP. My guess is MLS MVP is going to be announced right up against MLS Cup. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 awards, not going to take 10, it's probably like, 2 a week? First week, they announce the AR and the ref. Second week, they announce the Community Service Award and Comeback Player of the Year. Then you get Keeper, Defender, because they kind of make sense together. Young Player of the Year, Newcomer of the Year, that makes sense together if you pair those two. And then Coach of the Year and MLS MVP. So I'm guessing it's going to be over the next 5 weeks. You get 2 of those announced every single week leading up to MLS Cup. And here's our Coach of the Year and our MVP. Trumpet sounding, da-da-da, So that's what you get to stare at. Coming up here in just a little bit with all of the postseason awards involving Major League Soccer. Jorge, Diego Luna, for Young Player, please, and thank you. Genuinely a joy to watch. I will agree, Jorge, I will agree that Diego Luna is genuinely a joy to watch. But as with most postseason award dealies, and that's what they are officially called, as postseason award D-Leagues. You know, you don't want to be like you don't want to be like the kids sitting at the walking in with your lunch tray and sitting there going, hey, how can I sit with the kids at the cool table? And have everybody with the Letterman jacket look at you funny because all you got's a Ringer T-shirt on and a pair of jeans. So we'll see what happens. Sadly, my gut tells me it's going to be messy. And then Suarez, as a thank you, gets newcomer of the year, because you can make a point that Suarez has made more of an impact when Messi was not in the lineup for Inter Miami than when he was in the lineup. And Michelle Kaufman has a preview up about Inter Miami and Atlanta United, where you hear from Tata Martino that in hour number 2. It is the bottom of the hour. And so we get to ask about moguls in training. We can find out what's going on, because there's a team that we follow on a weekly basis here on the show. And there's a postseason coming up in the second division in the U.S. Soccer Pyramid. And there's a particular team that we do talk about, and they made the playoffs. We just don't know where. We don't know where they're seated, because we have one final weekend in USL Championship to figure it out. So we will ask our favorite mogul in training about what it's like to experience the playoffs and get in there, and what it's going to be like. Time for the Friday Free Kick with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. And our buddy Michael Parker is hanging out with us this week. Cap, what is up?
Good morning.
So, are you nervous? Are you excited? Rhode Island FC is in the playoffs, and it's the Kings of the Draws got a good draw, and you're going to be in the postseason. You don't know where yet, I think, because there's some math and one more match to play. But how does it feel? I broke my sideline reporter guidebook out, and I just said, so how does it feel? How does it feel, Cap?
It feels really good. Yeah, obviously that was goal number 1 going into the season. We wanted to be a playoff team year 1, and so we've accomplished that. And yeah, we feel really good about where the team is right now. The second half of the season has been really strong for us, and so we know that we're going to have an away game. We don't know where that'll be, but honestly, we feel confident going into that game. Obviously, we hope to avoid Louisville.
Yes, that would just like, no, you can have Louisville. I insist.
And probably Charleston. But I think everybody else, we feel good about going in there, and so we'll see. And selfishly, I hope it's Detroit or Indy, because those are quick little trips for me.
Yes. Well, and going to Keyworth to play Detroit City. Danny Dickio's done some great work there this year with them, and it's Keyworth is a pain in the ass to go. To go play.
It's a tough place to play, no doubt about it.
And Indy 11, they play at the Mike at Ooey Pooey, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, whatever they call it. But the Mike, not as intimidating, but I think that if you can avoid going to Hamtramck and going to Detroit City, I think that Detroit City can be had. I think Indy 11 can be had. Indy 11 likes to score a lot of goals, but I think that you guys defensively can take something like that. So I like the idea of the first round matchup, and I know that you can take a little hop flight, or maybe even hop in the car and turn it into a golfing excursion while you have the time left on the clock to do it.
I like where your head's at, John.
Well, I mean, come on. Somebody's got to play golf on this show, and since I don't have the time to do it, I anoint you to improve both of our handicaps simultaneously.
I will gladly accept that challenge.
All right, so we got a lot of different things to kind of get into here that are somewhat postseason mentally related. Atlanta United, and I guess this is where I'll steer us into the mentoring conversation. So Atlanta United goes into the 8-9. They go into a hostile environment. They take care of business. They get out to the early start. Then it turns into 2-2. Then they go to PKs, and a 40-year-old keeper, as we all know keepers age differently, though, takes care of business, and then they go to the next stage of this. What is it when you have conversations with with mentees about going into high impact emotional situations. Do you have these conversations about controlling emotions and understanding the moment while still trying to accomplish what you want to accomplish coming out the other side?
For sure. There's no doubt about it. And I've spoken to a few teams in high school that are going into playoffs or going into championship games and things like that. And the two messages I always tell them are: one, play to win the game, don't play not to lose. And two, expect the unexpected and expect that something will go wrong. You will get punched in the face, metaphorically, in the game. And what's going to be the reaction, right? Maybe you go down 1-0. Maybe you give up a 2-goal lead. Maybe you get a red card. Who knows? Maybe the referee doesn't give you an obvious penalty. I don't know. But something's going to go wrong. And be ready to dig deep in those moments and get over it and get past it quickly.
When you have a lead like Atlanta United did in this play-in game in a hostile environment, they handle everything well. But then you get that moment with Brad where, and I think it was because Gregerson was in his peripheral vision, and you see a shot coming in, and you see something wobble, and you're like, okay, what was that? And you're distracted slightly, and then Joseph comes in for the slam dunk to make it 2-1. You're in a moment like that, you've got to shake off those moments too. And that's what your teammates are for. That's what all those voices and that experience is for. I guess the next stage is conversations emotionally about getting past those rough moments and not turning it into quicksand, I guess is probably the next topic here. Do you talk about quicksand and how to avoid those kinds of things?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I just made a video. I'm doing a lot of video analysis right, and I just made a video because I saw something happen in an FC Dallas game. I'm pretty sure it was from last weekend. And I don't know who the player was. He was their defensive midfielder. And it was late in the game. I think they're winning 2-0. And he gets the ball in his own 18, makes a bad pass, but the player takes a bad touch and it comes right back to him. So mistake number one, no harm, no foul. Plays the ball out wide. It's not a good pass. No harm, no foul. His teammate ends up getting to it. He goes over to support, gets the ball back again. And I talk about how at this point right now, his confidence is shook because he gets the ball back and he's got a second to look up and play a wide open pass through the lines, and he doesn't. And I talk about it's because his confidence is shot. He was afraid to make this pass, and so he didn't make it. Then he gets closed down, tries to play back to the goalkeeper, forward reads the pass, intercepts it, scores. And it's not the first mistake usually that hurts you the most. Right? The first mistake might hurt you. It might give up the goal, but usually it's not. Usually it's the second. It's a compound effect. And, that's what we can't have. That's what we need to avoid, right? We're not going to avoid mistakes, but can we avoid the compound mistakes that are based off of basically losing some confidence and not being able to get over the first one?
How do you develop short-term memory, I guess, is it's the whole goldfish mentality bit, that we've seen from Ted Lasso. How do you develop short-term memory and being able to put things past you? Because I would think as an athlete growing up and then as a professional that shutting those kinds of things off and then just focusing on the next and going forward, that's got to be one of the most difficult things out there to try and be as an athlete, is to put the past to the side, even though it's going to be hanging on your shoulder and kind of reminding you about what just happened here. How do you put that fear aside? How do you put that activity aside and focus going forward?
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the toughest things. And there's no easy solution. And everybody's a little different. I think there's some younger athletes I talk to where you try and have some sort of action or voice or something that triggers your ability to get your mind off of that and onto something else, like picking up a blade of grass and throwing it, or telling yourself a certain phrase that you've already come up with to remind yourself to let things go. And I think it starts beforehand as well, of not expecting to be perfect, expecting to make mistakes is goes into it as well, because I think when you have that mentality, it helps you get over it quickly rather than expecting to be perfect and then you lament on it for longer. So yeah, it's a challenge, and you really need to go through it and experience it. And that's why we say that mistakes and losses and all these bad things make you better in the end if you're able to learn from it.
What were your, for lack of a better word, dismissers? What were your triggers to put something past? Was it a deep breath? Was it the blade of grass? Was it, kicking air? What were your ways to get past that bad moment when you had a chance to breathe and process and move forward?
Yeah, for me, it was always I wanted to have absolute full focus for like the next 5 minutes. It was like, okay, I've made a mistake right now, but don't make another mistake here in the next few minutes, right? Really focus in, play safe if you have to, right? Get into a tackle, do something, get involved. And also don't let the communication lack just because you had a bad moment. Like those types of things of like trying to make sure, hey, stay in tune, stay sharp here, right? These are the moments that you're most susceptible to make another mistake, right? As individually and as a team, right? They say like right after scoring a goal, right? It's the most susceptible time to giving up a goal, right? It's because, you let your guard down for a minute. And same thing after you make a mistake, you let your guard down a little bit, you're thinking about it, your confidence isn't as high, and then boom, the ball comes right back to you because of course it does. And are you ready?
It's just, you look at those moments and you try not to compound mistakes. And we talk about putting that first mistake past you. Then you get those individuals that apparently can't, and then you get into the whole compounding of a mistake, and it turns into one and another and another and another, and then you can't get out of your own way, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is, while we talk about getting past that first mistake is difficult, it's compounding those mistakes, then getting back. And it seems like the more the mistake, the more difficult it is to get out of that, rut. Or is it just that one shaking moment of confidence, even after you've had just the worst day and your day was ish and Soccer America gave you a 2 up to that point? You get to that one moment. Is it as simple as for an athlete, that one moment, or does it have to be if you've had a really bad day and you had mistake, and you can't shake it off? Is it as simple as that one good moment that can move you forward, or do you have to have a chain, do you think? Or does it vary with the individual?
It does, but John, this is what separates, the okay to the good, good to the best, right? This is what separates the best athletes. It's their ability to get over these little things and not let them affect them, because anyone can do it well once and anybody can do it well for a week or whatever it is, right? But when you do get punched in the face, when you do have a terrible game, right? Mistake after mistake, and it just doesn't go your way. Can you get back on the horse, and can you get it back on it quickly, and even in game, right? These are the things, right? And it's every single sport. This is what separates so many athletes, and it's not really anything to do with kicking a soccer ball or shooting a basketball or anything like that. It's more the mental space for sure, right? Because they all can do it. It's what got them to this place, and it's what got a youth athlete to their travel team or whatever, right? But to get to the next step, right, everything's going to get harder. And so how do you react? And yeah, for good players, they that one good play can overshadow it and get them back on track, right? For somebody that's not as in tuned, they need a whole good game or 2 good games or whatever it might be, 5 good plays in order to start getting over it. And sometimes that's too much.
Being an underdog, going into a situation where everyone around you is thinking, yeah, you're the underdog, the other team's just going to truck you and this kind of a thing. How do you handle and how do you have conversation with folks about understanding that, yeah, you might be an underdog, but that's the outside noise? How do you, in a situation like that, and yes, I'm kind of talking about a team that you used to play for, everybody is staring at one team and going, yeah, they're the 9, it's like they're going to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and they're the dog. How do you put or channel the idea of no one believes in us and channel that into positive energy instead of letting the negative weight and everything else that surrounds us today affecting you? How do you channel internal as opposed to focusing on external and letting that affect your play?
Yeah, I honestly think that's pretty easy. That's what brings teams together the most, right? Is when everybody thinks they're going to get crushed or lose or have no chance, right? Where it's like, hey, it's us against the world out here, right? Nobody thinks that we have a chance, and that's a good way to play a lot of times, right? Because it's like the pressure is totally on the other team. There's no pressure on you as a big underdog, right? Everything you go, if you go out there and win, it's amazing. You go out there and lose, and it's like, well, we were expected to lose. So really, it should free you up to play a little bit more loose and take those risks and go after it, because you have to, right? As the quote unquote worst team, you need to take risks and do things, right? You can't just go out there and hope that you can have one moment and just defend and do those things, because you're not the better team, right? And specifically to Miami versus Atlanta, yeah, Miami's the better team, right? That's fact. Does that mean they're going to win the series? No, it doesn't. But you need to do some things that are a little bit special in order to pull an upset. And sometimes when you've got that mentality of us against the world, right, it brings the team together a little bit, gets everybody on the same page.
How difficult is it in a situation like this to focus on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back? Because that the Gulfstream Galacticos, they're going to be out there, and it's going to be, Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, all the young guns, all this kind of stuff. How do you tell folks to focus on the crest and the jerseys that you're going up against and not be intimidated by your surroundings, knowing that there are those big guns that are on another side like that?
Yeah, it's tough. I think that it's easy to get distracted by those three, but there's a lot of good players on Miami that can hurt you. And so if you focus all your attention on those two guys, especially, right, there's then Julian or Gomez or Campana or
Kromoski or whomever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The other English winger, wherever he's from.
Robert Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Taylor. Is he? Where is he from?
I think he's like, it's a weird one. It's
is he
like
American?
Like Sweden or something.
Okay, I didn't think he was American.
No, but it's like Robert Taylor, and it's an odd one that you wouldn't necessarily associate. I think it's like Sweden or something like that.
Okay, but yeah, they've got a lot of pieces that can hurt you. I think the most important thing for me, and I cannot for the life of me, John, understand it, is I really hope that for Atlanta, that warning signs go up in your head when Messi's got the ball or Jordi Alba has the ball, and they always look for each other. Or Messi runs after he plays the ball, he runs deep. Like when I watched that Revolution game from last week, I cannot believe they let this guy run free. How can you not run with him? I get it if he beats you, right? That's one thing. But he always passes and moves, always. His movement's so good. So, and I cannot believe if Jordi Alba has one more cutback cross to Messi at the top of the box for a goal. I don't know how it happens, John. It's unbelievable.
It's there on tape. Finland is Robert Taylor, by the way.
Finland. Oh, you were close.
Yeah, so it was something Scandinavian, but yeah, it's like this has happened on tape and in person for years. This is how this happens. How do you not know that this is going to happen when so and so is there? One
last thing, John, is I can't remember if I told you already. I went to the Miami Columbus game here in Columbus a few weeks ago, and Columbus dominated the first half. They played so well. It was like the 40th minute, and I was thinking to myself, this is the worst I've ever seen Messi play. He wasn't completing passes. He didn't have the ball much anyways because Columbus had it a lot. But even when he did, he was so bad. Like the worst I've ever seen him play. And I was thinking, golly, this is crazy. And literally 6 minutes later, it's halftime. It's 2-0, and Messi's got 2 goals. Right? So it's like you can never, ever let your guard down. And that, but also to your point of like, hey, mistake after mistake after mistake, and then boom, right back in it.
And that was why I wanted to ask about handling the crest on the front as opposed to the name on the back, because it can be something where it does turn into quicksand. You get that you're even after 45, say, and then a moment happens, and then it might shake you into this idea of like, oh crap, yeah, we're playing Messi and Suarez and Alba and Busquets, and then the moment happens, you get that second, and then you turn into New England and you give up 6, and fantasy players who captained Messi and got double points had a field day, even though he only played like 35 minutes, speaking from experience. And that to me is just one of those things where I think that maybe younger players, and we saw this when Messi and friends were here in Atlanta, you had Jay Fortune, and I want to say it was like Jay Fortune and Steon Gregerson, who may not necessarily have the other than maybe watching on TV or something. You got young guys who are just kind of like, yeah, okay, that's like fine. You're the guy with the ball. You're not Lionel Messi with the ball. You literally had Messi at the top of the D. You had 3 defenders collapse on him, and he couldn't do anything with the ball, and they weren't intimidated by their surroundings at Atlanta defensively. That's what I was trying to understand is focus on this, don't focus on that, and then you can put all of that behind you and just focus on your job. You can be locked in on your job for 90 minutes in a situation like that.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And Messi is like one of the few players where, yeah, your job changes a little bit and you have to be a little bit more concerned with the name on the back. But in general, right, your own play, absolutely. And I think Atlanta should have confidence going into this game because, the last 2 times they've played Miami, they've done really well.
4 points, baby, a win and a draw.
And the game in Miami, they could have had 6 goals. So that would be my mentality going into this game. Hey, Messi's going to do special things, right? He's going to. He's the best in the world. He likely will even score, right? Miami's probably going to score. But that's okay because we can score 2 or 3 on Miami. They're not a defensive juggernaut, right? They are capable of giving up goals. So that would be my mentality. Like, hey, yeah, we're going to try and shut them out. We're going to try and play it. But you know what? If Messi sticks one in the top bins, like, okay, so be it. But you know what? We can go down there and score on the other side.
You mentioned doing videos these days at Beyond Goals. I mean, I want to get into that for a bit. What's it like to have these kinds of creative outlets for you and Greg to show what's going on in your brain and have examples of what folks can use for mentoring? What's it like for you to go and dive down that rabbit hole for creation?
Yeah, I really enjoy it because, I don't know, I see these things happen out on the field and I feel like I can talk to them and say like, hey, this is why this player did this, like in a good way, or hey, here's what we need to learn from this play. This is what this player did wrong. And, how you can avoid this situation type thing. So it's just a way for me to like help analyze the game a little bit, help them see things and understand things a little bit of how things are done out there on the field at a higher level and what it takes, and just seeing things a little bit clearer. And there's little things that that turn into habits, or I don't know, like when you're on an end line crossing a ball, like what are your options to look for rather than you're just trying to hit it in the middle of the goal. There's little cues. So just trying to point out those things I think can be really helpful for younger athletes. What's
the worst habit that needs correcting today from either younger players or players like the younger players, like the U18s, the 18 to the 22s? What's the worst bad habit that can be easily kicked that you keep running into these days?
Probably not aware of your surroundings, not knowing what you're going to do with the ball when it comes to you.
Yeah.
As far as like, what do you do with your first touch? Even if you're not playing it to someone, but what are you doing to avoid pressure? Or do you know where pressure is coming from? Like those types of things. Like the first touch is just a game changer, and it's not clean enough in most instances. I mean, shoot, even at the professional level, it's not sometimes, but definitely at the youth level, it's something that can really separate players and just give yourself such a better opportunity to have success in each moment of the game.
Is it wasted these days, do you think, more often than not, the first touch?
Uh, it could definitely be done a lot better to give yourself more opportunities. That's for sure. It's often wasted. And not so much wasted as not taken advantage of. Right? That doesn't mean the first touch is always a turnover, but it means that the first touch didn't do anything positive for you when it could have.
Bart Keeler's in this morning, and he says the probably the biggest bad habit. He says, "Stop thinking that you don't foul opponents. You're on a field with 21 other people. You're going to foul them. Accept it and move on."
That's a really good one too. And I do have a video where I point out professional fouls, how to do them, like the importance of them, why you do it. Especially for attackers. I did one the other day. Actually, I was talking to a kid, and I'm like, "Hey, if you foul this guy right here, right? Not only do you get to walk back and get in position, but like 6 other guys in your team get to as well." Right. And it slows things down, and you have to rest a little bit, and you get behind the ball. So, and you're not going to get a yellow card. So stop worrying about it. And yeah, that's a good one, Bart, for sure. Because, I think that there's a misconception between like being a good sport and sportsmanship and fouling, and, they don't have to live separately.
And the professional foul, I think, is a lost art at times these days, especially in one of those transitional moments. And you're like you're yelling at the screen, or you're yelling at the field, foul, and it's like they want to sit there and poke and prod and pull a shoulder instead of actually just bowl somebody over. I think at times a professional foul is a lost art.
Yeah, not in South America.
No. I saw something, I think it was yesterday, in the Roma Dinamo Kyiv match, where literally dude goes in, studs up on a tackle, and destroyed the Roma player's sock and the padding underneath, to where there was a hole about the size of my palm, and no card. I'm guessing because Europa League, it's like, yeah, you want to go in, studs up. They're not going to give you a card. All right, that's the bar. We know what we're doing until something happens, and then the bar changes. What's going on with Beyond Goals other than you and ushering Rhode Island FC into the land of the playoffs?
Nothing really new right now. Things are going really well. So nothing really new to report, which is A-okay. I think the newest conversation is looking to potentially bring on another mentee, likely a female, and grow the business in that area. So but that's not happening in the next few weeks. It's more of the next month or two. Right? There's no rush. We want to find the right person, but yeah, we're searching.
Excellent. As always, my friend, it's great to see you in between moguling and ushering teams into playoffs and building what's going on there at Beyond Goals with you and Greg. It's always great to see you, my friend. Be safe. Have fun. I know that you'll be watching, pacing back and forth in a room somewhere, looking at Rhode Island FC's final match of the regular season, figuring out where you're going to go for the playoffs. It's always great to see you, my friend. Be good. Have a safe weekend.
Likewise. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody.
You got it. There's Michael Parkhurst, and Cap's going to go and do things. And dude, I mean, they've got it going on, and it's fantastic. I love what Greg and Cap are doing on a daily basis, and finding out what's going on with them and all of this. Okay, it is hour number 2, and so the guest that we were tracking down, she has been tracked down, and I say she because it's been too damn long since we have had this individual here on the show. So how much time do I have you for, Jess?
Roughly 15 minutes, because I do have to get some, I'm flying Spirit Airlines, so I'm going to need to get some snacks and water today,
Flying Spirit to head down to South Florida. Okay, so you're flying down to South Florida. What leagues do we need to talk about with you?
Goodness gracious, wow. My brain is compartmentalized, if I'm completely honest. So let's skip the USL Championship, because those games are tomorrow, and I'll be realistic. I'm focused on USL Super League tonight. I've got a USL Super League game between Lexington and DC Power tonight, and then on Sunday, of course, Charlotte FC. So Charlotte FC is ingrained. MLS is ingrained. I'm actually staying at the same hotel as a friend of the show, Maddie. Somehow we discovered. So I guess I've become her chauffeur tonight since I'll have a rental car. So I'll be picking her up. So we can also talk a little bit, about the other game that might be going on in Fort Lauderdale at the same time,
Yeah. All right. So let's talk Super League. We had Marion Crowder on the show on Wednesday and got to break things down with her a little bit. So far, from what you've seen with the USL Super League, what has stuck in your mind this season?
Yeah, I just think the fact that it's super exciting to see all these players get the opportunity to come back to their home country to play. As somebody that had the opportunity to play abroad, it's special, but it's not the same as playing at home where your family can come watch, where, you're in your country of birth. There's something really unique about that. So just the fact that they've almost doubled the amount of professional positions for women's soccer players across America is really amazing. I think the fact of the professionalism is great. The fact that we're seeing so many fans and communities get an opportunity to support women's football, it is really cool. And then from a broadcasting standpoint, the professionalism of the level of broadcast is great as well. I mean, we're putting on full level broadcasts every weekend on Peacock. The viewership numbers, from what I'm hearing, are very good. People are talking about watching those games that I'm on, which is very special. And it's been really cool. I mean, I've had the opportunity with Charlotte FC to be the voice from the very beginning of their kind of tenure. And now I have the opportunity to be a voice from the very beginning of a league starting. So that combination has been really cool for me to see. So yeah, very, very nice opportunity to be a part of the USL Super League from day one.
You look at what we're seeing with Carolina, and Carolina's off and running right now, still the only unbeaten team in the USL Super League. Dallas, I don't know which team I'm going to get. Is it going to be the one that scores 6 or doesn't score in any of the other matches? Carolina seems to be the team that's off and running right now. Are they the one that everybody's chasing, or do you think they're going to come back to the mean a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because they've been inconsistent in a lot of ways. Yeah, they're unbeaten, but they're not, dominating opponents. The games are very close. You look at the fact that they dropped points both times against Lexington, who have struggled a lot this season. They have now found some momentum, and I'm excited about the Lexington game tonight because obviously they have 2 games where they've won in a row. Can they make it 3 tonight against DC Power, who's really been the disappointment of the year, if you're completely honest, considering the fact they play in Audi Field, considering their connections with the professionalism, you kind of expected a little bit more. But with Carolina Ascent, I mean, I've had the pleasure of being part of the Carolinas community for the last 3 years. And I think this area has deserved such a successful team in Charlotte. So that's very exciting. And, I think they're doing a lot of things right with the way they've connected with the community, with the way they've found the combination of, you saw the 14-year-old that made a debut, of course. So they're working with the academy systems, but they're also bringing in big time, pros with experience. And I think that's what's really cool about USL Super League is we've had the chance, John, to call USLW League, to call academy players, to call high school. And you're kind of seeing this really nice hybrid of being able to have young players get an opportunity to try things out professionally or to try things out at the professional level without damaging their collegiate eligibility, which I think is very important. And then they're getting a chance to play against full-time professionals. And it kind of reminds me a lot of what I was doing at 16 when I was playing first team football in England. And I tend to agree that if you're good enough, you're old enough. And it's a great experience to see young players get an opportunity to play at that level.
Bart with a question before we get into Major League Soccer. He says, what does it mean for the league that a good handful of USL Super League players got called up to their national teams for the window? How does that help the league and women's soccer in the region?
Yeah, I think that was really interesting because DC Power's missing 3 very important players tonight, including Charlie Escort, who's a former Reading FC player. So always gets me excited to commentate Charlie, but I won't have that opportunity tonight because she'll be with the Welsh national team. It can help and hinder, right? Because for the individual teams, it stinks that you're going to lose these players. And you saw it in MLS, right, with the transfer windows when Columbus had to struggle without a real goalkeeper because of the red card. Things like that happen. You're missing Cucho Hernandez. On the women's side, it's similar, right? You're going to be missing some really important players for important games. At the same time, I had a chance to talk with Fred Briant, who's the head coach of DC Power, in our coaches call, and he was very clear about we knew this from the get-go. This is the risk versus reward of signing players that have international experience. This league isn't necessarily going to break at the same time as the international windows at this moment. So we're having to be prepared and we're going to have to replace them. So I think it's a testament to the level of players that they've been able to bring in, that there are so many players getting called up internationally, because there were some question marks about what the standard would be like. There always is when there's a new league, but the quality and the caliber of the players to play for their national teams is huge. The unfortunate thing for some of those teams is they're going to play a game without those players. So I think it's a huge credit to the league, and it's a huge credit. It's going to help the US women's national team tenfold that these young players are going to get opportunities to play at a professional level earlier on in their career. And look, I'm a big fan of NWSL as well. We know that. I've called games for them this season. It's been really special. But there's more established players maybe. So younger players might sit on the bench more versus getting opportunities here. So more professional positions in the league is a good thing to have.
All right. So we're keeping you to 10:15 so you can catch your flight on Spirit. And
Hey, don't be. Spirit has a bad reputation, but so far the flight is on time.
We'll take that. Jarrett joins us now as we talk Major League Soccer. We'll start with Jess. We'll start with your outfit. Christian Kalina named as one of the finalists for, one of the postseason awards, and he damn well better get it considering all the clean sheets he's had this year. All the angst and everything.
Do you think he will, though? Do you think he will? Because Hugo Lloris is a bigger name. It's a more sexy name. It's a sexy name, isn't it? And that's what scares me. People go with the sexy name versus the actual worthy award winner.
Just because LAFC has two of the sexiest men in Major League Soccer and that they would be in the centerfold of the sexiest men of Major League Soccer calendar doesn't mean that just because they beat June and July that they should get the award. I think that it should be Kalina, Schulte, and Lloris in that order for Keeper of the Year. When you look at this playoff series coming up for Charlotte, what sticks in your mind off the top?
I think the momentum that Charlotte obviously has coming into this game, 9 goals in the last 3 matches. When we faced Orlando in the past, it was during our very bad goal-scoring drought, and somehow things have managed to click. I think the signing of Pep Biel has been huge to unlocking the attacking position. I also think the switch up in our structure, kind of going to a back 3 at times in the build-up with Tim Ream playing as left back, allowing Nathan Byrne more forward movement, has freed up our midfielders as well a lot. So I don't think you can compare the Charlotte's results against Orlando City in the last 2 games in regular season to what Charlotte's doing in playoffs. Now, do I think Orlando City are dangerous? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be a tough game? Yeah, definitely. Does the home field advantage for Orlando help them? Yeah. And then the other part that makes me nervous about this Orlando City game is the fact they're bouncing back after Atlanta United kind of ruffled some feathers, right? So I don't know if we might have done you a favor, but I'm not sure if you did, because now we're going to, Orlando's going to be pissed off. They're going to be disappointed that they got beaten on home turf against their rivals, and they're going to want to really, put Charlotte in a chokehold. The good thing about the round of 3 is that there isn't aggregate, there isn't goal difference. So I think that's huge, that if things don't go to plan for Charlotte in Orlando, you get a clean slate at home, and we know how good Charlotte is at home most of the time. So it's going to be a difficult matchup. If you can neutralize the effect of Facundo Torres, you're in a better position. If you can neutralize the effect of Duncan Maguire, you're in a better position. But it'll be tough. But I think Charlotte's got the best momentum that they've had all season, which is encouraging. And I don't know, it could be really interesting if both of us upset, that we could end up with a Charlotte-Atlanta game, right? That would be fascinating.
Absolutely. Jarrett, for Jess. Jess is at the airport. Go.
So we talk about these games all the time where, especially with this format of best of 3, how big is it if you're drawing from your own experience, when you're on the road and it's going to be a tight game, not just getting the early goal, but we talked about this for the game in Montreal, but keeping it level and putting all that pressure on a host team like Orlando, who at times in their past have blown their engine at inopportune times. But how important is it to keep it level, to keep that pressure leaning on them to make something happen?
Yeah, I think particularly when you're with a fan base that's frustrated, right? Because Orlando had a good season when you look at the fact they finished 4th, but they disappointed in the fact that they were losing last game. So I think if you can frustrate them, get an early goal. We know how good Charlotte's been defensively most of the time this season. Christian Kalina leads the league in clean sheets. We defensively have had 3 shutouts in the last 4. So I think as long as you can keep things sturdy and not give them that momentum, that home field advantage and that belief, you set yourself in a good standing. The encouraging thing is this now, the Charlotte, the way they're playing is, if this had been right after League's Cup break, I'd have been worried if we conceded a goal, you lose this game because you don't have the goal scoring momentum that we found now. The good thing is for Charlotte, there's more of a belief in the attacking force that even if you do concede, you've got goals in your squad. You've got confident forward players. You've got Patrick Agyemang, who, when you look at that centre-back pairing with Schlegel in it for Orlando City, I mean, that's a match made in heaven for Patrick. He's going to be able to run through those back line like nobody's business. So it'll be interesting. I do think, though, like you say, Jarrett, that first goal is really important in this game. The other thing is, like, people have asked me a lot, do you play for penalties, knowing how good Kalina's been during League's Cup in penalties in the past? I think that's a really risky game to play, if I'm honest. And I think that teams that play for penalties often get punished. So Dean Smith's mentality a lot of the time is to go for glory, and I think he'll do that.
All right, let's talk about Atlanta United and Messi and friends. You'll be in the hood. You'll be kind of seeing what's going on tangentially.
I'm surprised I haven't seen more Atlanta United fans at the airport. Maybe they're all flying bougie airlines.
Delta. They might be flying. Yeah. They might be flying Delta on their way down, or catching later flights and just racing to FLL to make sure that they can get all the Ubers trafficked and all that as they get to the erector set.
Another reason I'm renting a car, because of that surge pricing on Uber. Not worth it tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have parking, by the way?
Yes, I do. I'm good to go. I am good to go. Yes. Otherwise, that would the Peacock budget isn't quite covering all of those extras.
Yes. So you've got a team in Atlanta United that goes on the road as the 9. They get in. First off, they get in, win, and then DC, and then Philly, and you get in. You take care of business on the road in Montreal. And now you go to take on Messi and friends, the only team that has taken 4 points off of Messi and friends this year with a win and a draw. Tata is saying the right things in the press conferences and everything, that, you know, we got to take care of business and all that. When you look at this matchup from your perspective, what do you see?
I mean, it's so hard with Inter Miami, isn't it? With all of their roster players and the talent that they have, and they've rested a lot of their players, you saw. And even when you rest Messi, he can still score a hat trick within moments of a game. The good thing that Atlanta United can take is, I mean, they went to Miami and they beat them, right? If I remember correctly. So this is a team that they've had a one-up over before, which is a really good thing. And I think also, I mean, I still follow Atlanta United on social media, and the videos that they're putting out, I mean, I would run through a brick wall for Rob, and I've never met the guy, you know? So I think that the momentum in the team is really good. The attitude is really good. There's kind of a underdog mentality of, look, no one's expecting Atlanta United to get through. Let's be completely honest here. And I watched all of the 360 pundits give who they think is going to win the whole thing, and everyone but our boy Kevin Egan, let's go, picked Inter Miami. So it's one where you can embrace that underdog mentality, go out, frustrate them. But I think the biggest thing is being brave, right? What Atlanta United did differently to a lot of teams was they were brave against Inter Miami. They didn't go there and try and sit in a low block. They took the game to them. And when Charlotte did that, when they tied Inter Miami away over there too, it was being brave. So I'm hoping that they'll go in with a brave mentality. You got nothing left to lose, and just do yourself a service in that game, right? Because I think the biggest thing is there was a lot of talk on social media after Atlanta got through that, okay, well, let's not have all of this high to then be disappointed in the play-in game. Well, you got through the play-in game in heart-wrenching fashion, right? I'm sure everybody lost a few gray hairs during that moment, but you've already proved a lot of doubters wrong. So I think for Atlanta, having that mentality of fuck it, even if people, I can swear, right?
You just got us exasperating before Jarrett. Nicely done.
The upset here is that you got it in before I did.
Yes.
But I get away with it today. This is the only place I can swear now.
Correct.
Correct. You've got to just say that, right? You've got to say, fling it. No one else believes in us.
Come on, go 2 for 2.
No, I'm very close to other people. I don't want to give off a bad one. But yeah, I'm excited. I'll be following. I'll put the text notifications on to see how it goes. But be brave, be ballsy, be confident, because if no one else believes in you, you can only believe in yourself, and that's a good place to be in.
And all right, so we're going to let you fling it and hope that you get on your flight and get down to South Florida and say hi to Maddie and everybody. It's always great to see you, Jess.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend. I'll be back soon.
You got it. There goes Jess. Jess is going to go catch a flight and figure out what's going on. So fling it now, apparently, is what we're supposed to say.
Okay. I mean, there's variables. But it kind of has to be the mentality, though. She's not wrong about the mentality.
She's not wrong about the mentality at all.
Yeah, but this is like roll into their neighborhood and try and punch them in the nose again, which you did in the summer, right before the international break, and right before Gonzalo Pineda was relieved of his job, where he rolled down there, and you got what I think you're gonna need in at least one of these games. You need a Saba night.
Yeah.
And look, Saba's inconsistent. When he's on, like, you've seen what he can do when he has a good night. Like, he can bag a brace. He can flip a game on its ear. He doesn't do it every time out. But if you can catch him on a good night, you can get him to drag you through a game. Because, like, hell, man, look at the Montreal game. Like, it wasn't a great night for him. He ran himself into the ground, and he worked his ass off. He gets the last penalty, which, I don't know, John, have you gone back and watched that last penalty he took?
Yes, I have.
Like, the way it clips the inside of the post took about 2 months off my life.
Well, but go back to the Derek Williams penalty.
The Derek Williams penalty was cold as hell. Where he just, like, short runs and then just, like, side foots it, puts a little spin on it, and just kind of floats the damn thing up in there. That was hilarious, just because, like, I didn't think Derek had that amount of swagger in him. But Saab is also like, that was, man, I don't even know if, like, if their wide guess is the right way. I don't know if he gets it anyway.
No.
He put it off the inside of the post and kicked it in.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, you go down there and you play your game, and you got to take your chances, though, because Miami will give you chances. I think we saw the different species that Miami can be at different times. One of them was in Atlanta without Messi in the lineup to start that game.
Yep.
Atlanta Miami was more balanced. They can still get forward. Leo Campana can still cause problems. Jorge is somewhere, like, screaming at the heavens.
Yes.
Throwing things actively. But you know that Campana can cause you problems. You know that they have depth outside of Messi. But when you put on those veteran world-class guys who are very, very good, they are world-class for a reason. The sun is setting on their careers, but it ain't set completely by any means. So this is not, as I do not say any of this is a shot to those guys, but you do get more. Firestone having but you do get more opportunity, because part of that midfield is going to disappear. Busquets is out there like Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards, standing, holding the line. Kind of is what it is. There are going to be chances you have to run through them, to run at them, and it's going to potentially be open. Like, you could potentially have at least one of these games end up like 4-3. The thing about that is, though, John, Atlanta has to put their chances away, because the 4-3 can go to a 4-1 real quick, where you look at it and go, man, we had like 3 good chances and we didn't put them away, and they put away their chances.
Yep.
So if to have that, Atlanta has to be clinical in the way they finish, and they haven't always been. But I think if they can dig down deep, and like I talked about a little bit with Joseph, with Abe, and certainly, again, I didn't mean as an insult to Joseph or to Messi, but you can't show them too much respect. You can recognize the name on the back of the shirt, but then you gotta know what they can do, but you can't give them too much space and respect.
Yeah.
My brain will always go back to Santi Sosa when he was here in that Leagues Cup game where Messi just demolished Atlanta, where it felt like Sosa was, for lack of a better word, almost like awestruck which would make sense because he's a kid from Argentina who probably, like many others, is getting a chance to play on the field with his idol, a guy who is damn near deified in that country.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be tough at times to separate those and to lock in. But I thought Atlanta, when Messi came on the field in the game here and when they played against him in Miami, did a good job of, you're showing him respect, but you're not showing him too much respect. Like, you're not going to try and go over there and start a fight with him, because angry Messi is the kind of thing that drops like a hat trick in 15 minutes on you.
Yeah.
But you got to do what you did against him in Atlanta, which is, he got the ball at the edge of the 18. Here's 4 defenders.
Yeah, I was going to say it was
do something else, bud.
Jay, Bart, and Stian, I think, were the
Jay
three.
Jay had zero fear going at Messi, which I was not sure if it was like. I wondered. I was like, man, is Jay too young to be afraid? Is he too young and dumb to be afraid right now? Because like he wasn't diving into tackles with Messi recklessly. I think he committed a couple, but they weren't like ugly tackles. They were just like, I have to foul him because if I don't, he will flay me.
Yeah.
But he went into challenges with Messi and challenged him straight up, which is what you got to do with those guys. Like, you were going to get beat at some point. Now, whether or not he puts the ball in the back of the net remains to be seen. You're going to get beat in a moment. It's going to happen. It's Messi.
And if you get beat, make sure that he's crowded and it's outside the 18.
Yeah, he might dribble you. He might dribble 5 people. He might. He's and it's this whole thing of like, I'm perpetually annoyed with the idea of like, we're going to use Messi as an excuse to make fun of MLS, as if he didn't used to like dribble on world-class defenders in Champions League every week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of our highlights that we have of Messi are like Champions League or La Liga highlights, where he's dribbling on guys who are playing for national teams and like dribbling the entire field. Or God, who was it? Who was the German defender?
Tony Kroos?
No, I don't remember who it was. Where he just slalomed on him, and just like the man just fell down like he was an NPC, and the .exe stopped working. It was, but he's made.
Burkhardt says it was Emma Boateng.
It was Emma Boateng. Thank you. But Boateng, like, just getting basically like it was like Boateng.exe stopped working. And
that's the keyboard.
Yeah, man, like Jerome Boateng, not Emma Boateng.
Sorry, Jerome. Sorry. Yeah.
But he's probably going to take a scalp or 2.
Yeah.
Can you keep him out of the back of the net? Can Brad keep him out?
Yeah.
There's going to be challenges. It's kind of like in other sports where you worry about, like, do you stop LeBron or do you stop them? Like, well, sometimes a guy's going to get his, and you got to just try and limit the damage.
Yeah.
It's so much easier said than done. But Miami's going to give you opportunities because of how open they will be and because of the lack of defensive get back, especially. And this goes back to the last time Atlanta played in the best of 3 series, especially if Julian Gressel's on the field, because I will take you back to Game 2 and Game 3 of the Atlanta-Columbus series, where Atlanta just saw where Julian Gressel was supposed to be and went, he won't be there. Attack that.
Yes.
And you got the Sean Day Silva game in the Benz last year in the playoffs. But, yeah, man, like, then he didn't start in Game 3. I don't think Tata will do that here, because I think he feels comfortable with the way they're set up. But there are going to be spots that you can attack, but you have to be clinical.
Yeah. Alan Chapman will be the man in the middle for this one, just to let everybody know. Lineup against New England, and this was before the substitutions with 30 to go that flipped everything. Calendar in net. Defense left to right. Jordi Alba, David Martinez, Thomas Aviles, and Marcelo Weigand. Midfield 3 left to right. Kremoski, Busquets, and Yannick Bright. And you want to talk about a draft pick that has been logging a boatload of minutes this year. It's been Yannick Bright. And then up top, Taylor Suarez and Gressel. Then the substitution pattern ended up with Messi coming in for Gressel for the final 33, checked in the 57th. and then Diego Gomez checked in for Taylor. Then you had a cup of coffee each for Noah Allen, Campagna, and Ian Frey for Martinez, Kromoski, and Weygant. So Sergei Krivtsov is he's logging minutes on the bench, and Lawson Sunderland's logging minutes on the bench. So that was the lineup before the changes that happened that flipped the script against New England. But Taylor, Suarez, Gressel, Kromoski, Busquets, Bright, Alba, Martinez, Aviles, and Weygant with Calendar in net. And that was obviously once again before Messi and Diego Gomez checked in. So I think that they can be had, and you just got to find your matchups and rock and roll with it. So that's where we are. Reminder, and this comes from Mike. Reminder from Mike. It is not going to be on 92.9 The Game tonight. It is going to be on Star 94. So you've got to look out for Star 94 tonight in the Odyssey app. And it's going to be on DirecTV, and it's all over the place. So 7:30 is when it starts. So 6:30 pregame, 7:40 kick, Star 94, and the Odyssey app. And so you can sync up Mike and Jason to the TV as well. DirecTV channel 622, Apple TV. It's on the free side tonight. So that's where it is with the matchup. Star 94, Star 94, Star 94. I can't pound that enough. Alan Chapman, man in the middle, Armando.
Just hearing the old in my head. I'm just hearing the old Star 94 back sell that they used to do in the 90s during Stephen Vicky era, when it was like Star 94, V103, and Kicks, both like just all three just pummeling each other in a triple threat match.
Yes. So that's the matchup for Atlanta United tonight. I know if we drop into like the salary figures and everything else that's going on.
Kevin Sullivan's making over $350,000 a year.
Yeah.
What the?
Uh-huh.
Jesus.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Well, hey, you know what? If you think he's that good and you want him on your roster, offering a, was he 16, 15?
Yeah.
Offering a kid who might not have his driver's license over $250,000 a year, probably getting to sign before he goes to City.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin Sullivan, 364 total comp. So, yeah, Kevin's making more than Quinn. What do you think those conversations are like in that household?
Dude, he's making more than Pedro Amador. Like, Amador is making like under 250. Pedro Amador has been a revelation.
Hey,
man.
Yeah, you find. I mean, what do you figure the conversations are like in the Sullivan household?
Probably that
Quinn's driving everywhere.
Kevin's paying
for
dinner.
Yeah, Quinn's driving. Kevin's paying.
Well, this happened the other night at the Hawk. I don't know. So Wednesday night, while I was watching Liberty get cocked by Kennesaw State. Just a reminder that happened. You're welcome again, Bart. As Kennesaw was doing a service to America.
Yes.
As that was happening, the Hawks were playing, and the Hawks basically got involved in a street fight with Brooklyn.
True.
And after the game, like Jalen Johnson had just signed a new contract with Atlanta, which he should, because Jalen Johnson's an incredibly athletic and high ceiling, incredibly talented number 4. At a certain point in the game, Okongwu got a technical for going to people's defenses, and like Brooklyn had a player ejected. There were multiple tags. It was a chaotic night. I think he said during the game, he's like, I'm not paying that fine. I'm asking Jalen to pay that fine.
Of course.
Bart, we are all happier for what happened Wednesday night at the Fraction. Like the absolute joy of my wife watching me almost in fear as I'm like pacing around the living room, explaining to her, so we haven't won a game actually in a while. I think we won one game last year against like an NAIA team. I was like, yeah, it hasn't been good. We can beat Liberty, and she knows who Liberty was. She's like, oh, Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Mhm.
And she was just half watching, and she's just like watching me like I'm the entertainment
Well,
as I'm having an emotional breakdown. As I'm like sitting there doing the math at the 2-minute warning. And John and you and I are texting with everybody.
mhm.
I'm like doing the math, like, because I gave up the touchdown right after 2-minute warning thing. I'm like, I'm doing the math, like if you get the onside kick,
Mhm.
they'll have like 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
And that's how it played out. And I was like, just keep it, like you said, just keep it in front of you.
Mhm.
Just keep everything in front of you. Yeah, that was. So I was like watching the Hawks at the same time as that, and like I got over. I'm still like riding the high of that game when Vancouver starts very slowly and methodically murdering Portland and continuing Portland's descent into chaos as they all started like fighting, and now Evander is apparently like gonna fight people.
He's
and
mad.
possibly leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nope.
man. There's a lot to unpack
Mhm.
from literally all of that.
Yes. Absolutely true. So the salary figures came out. They were released for Major League Soccer. And Messi, shocking no one, highest earner in the league, guaranteed money at 20.4.
Okay.
And
20.4?
guaranteed.
That's okay. That's bad. I was like, that's not total compensation. Don't
No.
give that shit.
No.
That's guaranteed. Okay, that's fine. That's guaranteed.
Yes, guaranteed. Yeah, guaranteed.
Hey, no.
Yes. Yeah, guaranteed.
There's no way in hell that's total comp.
No, guaranteed is 20.4. Yeah, so 12 million base, 20.4 guaranteed. That's messy for you. That does not include the NIL. Reminder, guaranteed
Or the
compensation.
Apple money.
Yeah, none of the NIL stuff, none of the Apple, the Lays, the beer, the home improvement, none of that. That is not in the guaranteed compensation package. Apple, none of that. So he's at 20.4 guaranteed. That's where Messi is, ahead of Insigne and Busquets. Messi and Inter Miami are spending about 4 times the guaranteed comp of the team that is spending the least in guaranteed comp. And you can shake hands with Joey Saputo on the way out that door. 41.7 guaranteed comp for Messi and friends compared to 11.4 for Montreal. 11.4 guaranteed comp for CF Montreal. The total annualized guaranteed compensation for the league's 910 salaried players is averaging it's 542.5. An average of 596.2 per player, up 12.4%. So 5 have a new top earner. Miranchuk for Atlanta at 3.7. Kuipers with Chicago at 3.5. Ricky Puig at 4.6.
Mm-hmm.
The handsome man, Olivier Giroud, the handsome scoring man as opposed to the handsome goalkeeper man, 3.68. And Marcel Hartel for all caps at 2.2. So Insigne is second in guaranteed comp at 15.4. Busquets is third at 8.8. And then Little Shaq was at 8.2. And that helped out incredibly with the Fire's wage bill.
Yeah.
3 other players earn over 6. Driussi at Austin, Bernardeschi at Toronto at 6.3, and Emil Forsberg right at 6. The rest of your top 10.
Hey, Emil Forsberg put in a damn work, though, man.
Mm-hmm.
He has earned that dollar.
Yes. Ache at 5.2. Hani's at 5.2. The new deal for Benteke at 4.7. Ricky Puig at 4.6. So the highest paid player on every team, and this is interesting if you like to look at percentages and things like this. Miranchuk's guaranteed comp of 3.7 is 24% of Atlanta United's current wage spend. That ain't the top number.
No, and Atlanta's total wage spend went down this year, too.
Yes, it did, astronomically by comparison. Driussi is 38% of Austin's wage spend at 6.7. Everybody else is like 15 to 20%. Benteke is at 28.4 of the wage spend for DC at 4.6 and change. Lucho Acosta's at 20% at 4.2. Ache 26% at 5.2. Messi's about half of Messi and friends' wage spend. And then you've got some 20s in there. Mukhtar at 24% of the wage spend. Forsberg is literally 1/3 of the wage spend for Red Bulls. Then Insigne at his 15.4 is 48% of Toronto's wage spend. And so here was the question to our friends from The Athletic. How can Miami pay Messi so much with a salary cap? Hello?
Because we've explained enough times how it works,
DP
but
figure.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't count against the one.
No.
Like the DP is what it is. You can pay somebody $100 million if you want to. It's still going to hit a DP flat fee.
Yes, the DP flat fee is the senior maximum of $683,750. So you can pay Messi whatever the hell you want as a DP. You're a DP. We're going to pay you $9 gazillion. What's the cap hit? $683,750. That's how it's done. And I mean, Victor Wanyama, his salary's at 1.8 in Montreal. He counts the same as Messi. On the cap figure, because that's how this works. That's how this works.
It is what it is. Not a huge deal.
No. So you look at the salary figures. Atlanta United's salary figure is now 15,230. They are 6th from the bottom right now when it comes to salary figures. 15,239.38. They are 6th from the bottom in the league right now. So there's plenty of space to work with. The top 5 was Messi and friends, Toronto, LAFC, and LAG, and then you had a team at 21%. So Nashville was number 5 in the spend, by the way, at 21.8. Austin FC is at 10th. The others down in and around Atlanta, it is CF Montreal, Colorado, Minnesota, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Colorado, Minnesota. So below Atlanta, it's like Minnesota, Colorado, Philly, and Montreal. That's what you're staring at right now. The highest paid newcomer is Alexei Miranchuk. Then it was Olivier Giroud, Stuart Armstrong, Ezekiel Ponce, and Pep Biel. Jess talked about Pep Biel in her segment as we lead in. So 2025 San Diego FC already has 2 annualized salaries for Patty McNair and Alex Mighton. The average salary, once again, $596,226, up 12.4%, $542.5 million in guaranteed compensation for 910 players. So that's where we are with the new salary numbers that have been released. You go to MLSplayers.org and you can catch all of the numbers. By the way, you mentioned Pedro Amador. 242,612 guaranteed compensation for Pedro Amador, base salary of $207,000. Josh Cohen is making more than Pedro Amador is right now. Luis Abram's guaranteed comp is almost 872. You've got a lot of the young guys who are making under 6 figures. You have Matt Edwards, Nick Firmino, Jay Fortune. They're all making the rookie minimums. Gregerson's making 1.12 guaranteed, so hang on to that figure. Brad's making 612.5, by the way, in net. Ronald's making 450. Brooks Lennon at 740. Saba just under $1 million. Dax at 256.25. Let's see. Mosqueda's at 437. Tristan Muyamba's at 566. Daniel Rios at 126.383. I still think he has outperformed his guaranteed compensation.
Yeah.
Shonda's at 604.25. Bart Sleesh at 830. Santi Sosa still in the books. Jamal Tiare at 595. Aiden Torres, Quentin Westberg, Derek Williams at 447.5, and Tyler Wolf at 154.5. So that's your Atlanta figures for the new salary releases that have come out here for our friends from the MLS Players Association. We got some more playoff action other than Atlanta United. We know that that's going to be where a lot of the focus is going to be for everybody here. But the schedule this weekend, you get the one match tonight. And remember, 7:30 air time, 8:40 kick. 7:30 Star 94 for the pregame show. Five Stripes Countdown, 7:30. 8:40 kick. It's on the free side of Apple TV. Tomorrow, LAG in Colorado. Sunday, it's Orlando and Charlotte. Once again, we got Jess to talk about that. And then LAFC taking on Vancouver. And everyone's favorite atheist, Vanni Sartini.
Yeah, Vanni Sartini is a gift upon the world and a gift upon MLS. His lack of give a damn should be admirable, should be admired by all. And look, every playoff he is going to fire off from the hip, apparently. And there's a part, man, Jason's going to flinch somewhere, and he's not going to know why.
Yeah.
As I say this, but Vanni Sartini's got a little Steve Spurrier in him.
Okay.
In the best way possible. Steve Spurrier is the man who once said about them naming something after Mac Brown at UNC, like, I don't know why they did that. I won more games in that field than he did while coaching at Duke.
Yes.
Which might not have been technically inaccurate at some point.
No.
But Vanni Sartini has a little bit of like Italian Steve Spurrier in him, and I'm here for
it. Alex, you can't spell citrus without UT.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, free shoes you. No, I remember that. I was part and parcel.
Kennesaw State and Florida State have the same record this year, folks.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Alex, ball coach is one of my favorite characters in sports history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That man used to just roll up and just shoot from the hip. Didn't need iron sights, just vibes, baby.
Yeah, he took out his 3-iron and took a swing and didn't care. Walk to the next shot.
Hey, Steve Spurrier's kind of dude who'd roll up there with a 7-iron and play the whole damn course with a 7-iron. He's gonna putt with that 7-iron. He don't give a damn.
No, not a bit. Not one bit. So the other juice boxes that are attached to this weekend, and so we'll take a peek at the other matchups, get you through the news of the morning, and then give you a fine howdy do to get you ready for your weekend. LAG is a -200. That one's kind of trimmed down a little bit, not a whole lot. LAG was north of -200 yesterday, down to a -200 right now. 90-minute draws a +375. Colorado is a +459. I'm going LAG here because I still don't know what the status of Georgi Mihailovic is.
Yeah, LAG here. We're eventually we'll get to the point where like something weird happens. It just Jordy being hurt does kind of change it for me. I know we're again, you're kind of looking like an El Tráfico final. Inevitably, someone's going to screw that up along the way. I kind of hope it's Colorado because it'd be funny. Also, the Chris Armas Revenge Tour deserves more respect.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it happening right now. Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Purple Team hosting Charlotte. Like I said, we got the chance to catch up with Jess before she was boarding her Spirit Airlines flight. Hopefully she's in the air with her Spirit Airlines flight. Actually, I think it's due to leave in, I think, a half an hour. So Purple Team in Charlotte. Purple Team is a -139 at home. They're the early game on Sunday. Draws a +304, and Charlotte to win is a +333. I'm not looking into the account of heading to Pens on purpose, but I think because of Galese and because of Kalina, I like that draw at a +304.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same way, where I kind of like that draw as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of questions about Orlando, just in general. Or they've been good this year, but if we can always ask the questions in other sports about, hey, so-and-so in the playoffs is kind of weird. What about Orlando in the playoffs where they can sometimes get a little sideways? So I think it's always worth asking. Charlotte's going to have to kind of pave their own path, and we'll get an idea of what Charlotte can or cannot be.
Yep. So I like it going to penalties in this one. So that means obviously I like the +304. We'll save the two Monday matchups for Monday. In addition to talking about what happened this weekend, LAFC and Vancouver. LAFC is a -213. Draws a +376. Vancouver in game one, and I imagine that they will get game two at home. I'm guessing. I don't know if there's anything that has been scheduled at BC Place that would prevent it. But right now, Vancouver's a +478 to win on the road. In that matchup, obviously, I like LAFC, but I think the play for me is the total.
Mm-hmm.
I like the over, and get this. The juice boxers think that it's going to flip from minus to plus at 3.25. So they think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and at 3.5, it's a +127, and that's where it goes north on you. I'll take the 3.5. I'll take the over at 3.5 at a +127 at least, because 4 is a +220 and 4.5 is a +281. I'll take that when it flips at 3.25 or 3.5 at a +127.
Yeah, I'll take that. Again, it feels like we're going to be barreling towards an El Tráfico until something else happens, and I kind of expect something weird to happen. I don't know if it'll happen in this round of best of three, though.
Right. No, I'm right there with you. So I think that this weekend, short of looking away from Atlanta United, Messi and friends, I think LAG, and LAFC, I think those will be one in regulation. I'm not so sure about Orlando City and Charlotte. I think that one goes to PKs. And then, obviously we talk about Messi and friends in Atlanta United all week long. And so we all know where we are with that. Postseason awards. I didn't get the chance to run through postseason awards with you. And we now have our finalists. And in going through all of these finalists, I have a gut feeling where things are when it comes to the year-end awards, and we'll roll through these with you just to get your thoughts. And we were not part of the select media members representing local and national outlets who consistently covered the 2024 MLS regular season. We were not segment 3 of the voting group when it came to the finalists here. 5 MVP finalists: Benteke, Evander, Cucho, Messi, and Suarez. What do you where would you vote, and then what do you think is going to happen? I guess I should parse it that way. See?
I'm tempted to say Cucho. Evander damn near got 20 assists. He deserves some down ballot votes, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go Messi. I'm not going to be able to sit here and burn down somebody's house over choosing Messi.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to kind of be of the mindset personally.
Mm-hmm.
Man, miss half the games.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my head's at.
Yeah. That's exactly where my head's at. For me, if you wanted to do an MVP, I would be inclined to go with Suarez. If you're talking specifically Messi and friends, I'd be more inclined to go Suarez over Messi for an MVP vote on that team.
He missed a bunch of time, Messi did.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't fall off without him. So
no.
You can't even use the argument of they were they needed him. They weren't as good without him. No, they did just fine without him.
Yeah, they were there. I mean, it's
they still won the damn Shield with him missing a bunch of times. So it's not like you needed him to be the most valuable player. There's layers to it, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the big name, and that might be enough.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's not like he didn't put up numbers, So
yeah. It's not,
I can't really sit here and tell you, well, it's because he didn't do A, B, and C. Did a lot of really good things.
Yes.
That's just me.
Yeah. As of 6 weeks ago, Miami was 10-0-3 in MLS and Leagues Cup when he did not play. So, I mean, that leveled out with all competitions. But in the first 13 matches in both MLS and Leagues Cup, 10-0-3. They won 10. They won 10-13 without Lionel Messi. So if your MVP argument is if you pull that player out of that lineup, how did they do without him? They did okay.
Just fine.
They were okay.
Is he the dude who will probably be the difference if they win the cup? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to like stage a revolution if he wins it.
Yeah.
It just kind of violates my brain of the man missed half the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I am with MVP. I could go Cucho Evander and not think twice about it with one or either. But no, what I think is going to happen is I think that Messi will get MVP and Luis Suarez will get newcomer of the year because it's Orellano, Peck, and Suarez.
Yeah.
So
That would make sense.
I think that miscongeniality goes to Suarez with Messi getting MVP.
Yeah, I can see that.
Coach of the Year finalists: Armas, Tata, and Nancy.
But Nazis, I would imagine, is going to get it after what Columbus did this year.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be opposed at all. Like, again, Armas, give him the down ballot votes. It's kind of like a couple of years ago when Jim Curtin should have gotten down ballot votes and didn't, and then the next year he got them when he was good, but I thought it was one of those things where like we do this stupid ass thing in sports, and writers are very guilty of it. Same with people who pick just stupid ass all-star games, where like we decide, well, we didn't give it to this guy when we should have, so let's give it to him now. Okay, but that's just going to create a chain reaction down the line where the next year you're going to have to want to give it to somebody who didn't get it before either. Just do your damn job in the first place during the right time to do so, and then you don't have to go back and try and correct your mistakes that you're making because you're too damn stuck up and stuffy to look through the damn forest to see the damn trees. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, Nancy's probably going to get it. You'll give Tata some votes. Chris Armas deserves some down ballot as well, and he deserves some recognition. Somebody from the damn mothership I know was like trying to dismiss Armas, and we can throw hands, drop a damn pin if you want to dismiss what Chris Armas did in Colorado.
Yes. Because Chris Armas was left alone. You had a little bit of investment.
They straight up invested. Don't get it twisted. Colorado invested for Chris Armas.
Mm-hmm. For the first time in recent memory, they actually invested for a coach. And you brought in Georgi Mihailovic, and you brought in a couple of other players, and you see what happened. So Chris Armas, to me, yeah, he should get some consideration. Will he? Doubt it, but we'll see what happens. Also on the board, it is Young Player of the Year. Bart was making the play for Ricky Puig. It is Diego Gomez, Diego Luna, and Christian Oliveira from LAFC.
Yeah, Oliveira is a good shout. Puig is always going to be, I think, that guy getting the shout there for the time being. Is what it is. And like my time is running out, so I will leave you with this. Look, because I know it's like it's kind of the thing where everybody's going to ask, what do you do? How do you take care of business? If Kennesaw State can beat Liberty and knock Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wet dream out of the playoffs.
Oh, no!
Then Atlanta can beat Miami.
Just combining those two thoughts. By the way,
Atlanta can beat Miami. You cannot be afraid. If you die on the field of battle, you die on the field of battle. You are one of many.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot be afraid.
No, absolutely not.
We'll see you on the other side.
There you go. I don't think they are. Puig, sadly, Bart, is a couple of years older than the deadline for Young Player of the Year, and so that's why I think they gave it to Diego Gomez, Diego Luna, and Christian Oliveira. Defender of the Year, and the thing with me is, and me being me, and ending up with, how do we phrase this? Theories as to how things happen. Voting everything to Messi and friends is not really thinking things through. It's like you want to be one of the cool kids at the table, like we got back at the beginning of the show. And I'll say hi to everybody here in a second. Think about if you are in category 3 of the voters for the postseason awards. If you're in category 3, going with the woo pick sadly just means that you just want to do the woo. You want to be one of the cool kids instead of actually thinking things through. For me, I'd give it to Steven Moreira because of what Columbus has done this year. Alba Moreira, Jackson Reagan. And we talked to Jess about Christian Kalina. Kalina, the handsomest man in net in Major League Soccer, Hugo Lloris and Patrick Schulte. I think in order for me, it would be Kalina because of the clean sheets. Almost like a keeper MVP-ish kind of a thing. Without Kalina, would they be where they are? I would think the answer to that would be no. Kalina, in order for me, it would be Kalina, Schulte, Lloris. So Kalina for me, keeper of the year. Comeback player of the year, probably Maxi Morales. Robin Lod, Maxi Morales, Lewis Morgan. Andrew Farrell, Darlington Nagbe, and Ilie for the Community Service Award. Probably give it to Driver. Ref of the year and AR of the year, I'll leave that to Bart. Because I'm not giving it to Drew Fisher. And I don't know if I'm giving it to Guido Gonzalez. And so from those two categories, I don't know if I'm making a vote. So I may just defer in those. But my guess is you'll probably get 2 of them released a week for the next 5 weeks. So keep an eye on all of that. Taking the tour about all the news this morning. Post-match press conference yesterday as Fenerbahce got the late equalizer in Europa League. Jose Mourinho sarcastically described Clement Turpin as one of the best referees in the world after Mourinho was sent off in the 1-1 draw with Manchester United. Shown a red after protesting when he thought his side should have had a penalty during the second half after Youssef En-Nesyri had equalized Christian Eriksen's opening goal. Watched the rest of the match from the stands. Revealed afterward that he'd been to see Turpin to ask about his dismissal. Mourinho, quote, "The referee told me something incredible. He said at the same time he could see the action in the box and my behavior on the touchline. I congratulate him because he is absolutely incredible. During the game, 100 miles an hour, he had one eye on the penalty situation and one eye on my behavior on the bench. That's the explanation he gave me, and that is why he is one of the best referees in the world." Mourinho adds, "I think the best thing I have to do when I leave Fenerbahce, I go to a club that doesn't play in UEFA competitions. So if any club in England at the bottom of the table needs a manager in the next 2 years, I'm ready to go." Sir, I don't know what the Fenerbahce owners think about that. Unless they're cool with it and they know that that's your end game at some point. I would hope that the Fenerbahce owners like having you there. That's why they hired you in the first place. Just saying. So if any club in England at the bottom of the table needs a manager in the next 2 years, I'm ready to go. I don't want to say anything else. We played absolutely fantastic against a team that is far more superior. United have now gone exactly a year since their last victory in Europe. 3 straight draws to start their Europa League campaign. But apparently, Jose Mourinho was hanging out with the best referee in the world. He was hanging out with the best referee in the world. Jose Mourinho being super serious about these kinds of things, that never happens. So he was hanging out with the best referee in the world. Also in the news, Stuyton and Lopetegui are under fire. Once again, there's a little bit of patience left with Julian Lopetegui in West Ham. Not much. Ian Holloway was named the new manager of a lower division side in League Two. So Ian Holloway, after 4 years, is back. Roberto Mancini is out in the Saudi Arabia national team after 14 months on the job. They are looking for a new manager, and apparently that individual is going to take over post haste, as they say. So you have a new manager for the Saudi Arabia national team. That is going to be picked up pretty quickly. At least they think. Eric Ten Hag fears that Manchester United season could be derailed with all of the injuries that are there. Newcastle is confident, Alex, about keeping their prized possession, Alexander Isak. Chelsea beat Panathinaikos 4-1. Big game from Mihajlo Mudryk. Apparently, Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth has said he's going to gesture less to stop getting in trouble with referees. Spurs beat AZ Alkmaar. Mikey Moore got a goal yesterday. And let's see, what else am I looking at when it comes to? Let's see. I'm trying to check my headlines here and see if there's anything that we've missed before we get out of here. Otherwise, we'll get into what to watch, how to watch, where to watch it, all those kinds of things. Remember, tonight. Whoa, Star 94 for the broadcast with Atlanta United and with Messi and friends. Star 94, 7:35 Stripes countdown, 8:40 kick. Playoffs are going on in MLS Next Pro, last weekend of the regular season in USL Championship and USL League One. You'll get all of your review preview shows coming up later this afternoon. Also, later today, we're going to tape an interview with the new man in charge with the new USL League One franchise in Texoma, Sherman Ada Ardmore, and we'll catch up with USL Texoma, and you will end up with the new information there about a new franchise in League One. That'll be released this weekend. Down to the final 8 in MLS Next Pro. We'll get into that coming up as well. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We'll get into that, and then we'll be out of here and get everybody ready for your activity on the weekend. Enjoy your weekend first and foremost. It's going to be a collision of events involving American football, involving the football all over the place, and the colleges and the pros and what have you. Erling Haaland is interested in joining Real Madrid when he leaves his current club, with the Norwegian's contract expiring in 2027. Chiesa being linked with a loan move as he looks to regain form. AC Milan, Roma, and Inter, all potential options. Arsenal and Liverpool still keen on a move for Real Madrid midfielder Arda Güler. Continues to struggle for playing time this season. Remember that Juventus apparently had their social media hacked and said that they had picked up Arda Güler, and then the front office was like, no, that was a hack. Arsenal could join the race to sign Victor Gyökeres. Ask our buddy Nino about that. You can watch our buddy Nino on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the network, helps out them as well. Nuestra Tele for the fans, CDO, TIC, Goal TV, all the things. All in one place at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Isak is keen to sign a new long-term deal, by the way, beyond 2028 at Newcastle, despite interest from Arsenal and Chelsea. However, Newcastle do not see any rush to open talks with Isak, given he has 3 years left on his deal. Remember, long-term deals are because you want to keep control of the asset. So you can do that for a while. Joshua Zirkzee could return on loan to Serie A after just 1 goal in 11 appearances. Juve, the most likely destination. Besiktas keen on taking Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton on loan. Newcastle, Arsenal, Manchester United also interested. Graham Potter, Gareth Southgate among the candidates to replace Oliver Glasner if the Eagles' form does not improve. Arsenal considering a move for Dusan Vlahovic, having previously tried to sign him back in 22. Barcelona directors have met with the agent of midfielder Pedri to discuss his contract situation, which is yet to be resolved. Middlesbrough ruled out the possibility of 22-year-old English midfielder Hayden Hackney joining Newcastle or Spurs in January. Ipswich could terminate Calvin Phillips' loan deal for Manchester City in the January window if he does not get up to speed at Portman Road. Ten Hag has expressed an interest in activating the £16 million buyback clause for left-back Alvaro Fernandez's contract at Benfica. Shiki Begiristan is a target for clubs in the Saudi Pro League. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Liverpool set to step up their interest in Mark Gahey among uncertainty around the future of Virgil van Dijk. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Now, soccer on TV. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. In addition to all of the college football that's going to be going on this weekend. And we now have the NHL and NBA and all the things. So, Friday, once again, round 1 of playoffs. Ligue 1, Rennes and Le Havre at 2:45, and you can catch up with Caleb Wiley at Strasbourg because BN and Espanyol have the Ligue 1 contract. CBS Sports Network, Championship, Portsmouth and Sheffield Wednesday at 3. The Summer Cup final is tonight at 8 between KC Current and Gotham FC in the NWSL. Leicester and Nottingham Forest, Friday Night Football. That kicks off at 3 on USA. Bien en Español, simulcasting Ligue 1. ESPN Deportes, La Liga, Español and Sevilla. Universo, simulcasting the Premier League game. Free side of Apple TV has Messi and Friends in Atlanta United. Fox Soccer Plus, 11 and 2 has the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor support. NBCSports.com, simulcasting the Premier League game. Paramount Plus, Serie A, 2 matches in the 12 o'clock hour. Udinese Cagliari at 12:30. Torino Como, 12:45. Simulcasting Portsmouth Sheffield Wednesday at 3 and Current and Gotham at 8. Super League, remember tonight, DC and Lexington. It is Jessica Charman on the call on Peacock. That is at 7:30. Dallas and Carolina is at 8. And then everything just is exploding in activity on the pro ranks starting on Saturday. College action today. You heard Marion Crowder last night on the SEC game. Men, you've got either America East, ACC, or B1G all across the board, starting at 6 and working your way through a 10:30 start of Indiana and UCLA on Big Ten Network. Women, you've got Division II crossover, Bellarmine and Eastern Kentucky at 2 o'clock. You've got SoCon and SEC crossover. You've got America East going on at 4 o'clock. You've got ACC action going on. You've got Ohio Valley going on. You've got Big 12 going on. You've got Southland going on. You have more Big 12, more Southland, and you have West Virginia and Houston at 8 for Bart. You've got Big Sky going on as well as, once again, Big 12. It's a busy night for them on the women's side. So a lot of that is ACC Extra, Flow, BTN Plus, ESPN Plus, ACC Network, by the way, on the boys' side. Men's side is Syracuse and Clemson at 8. Big Ten Network on the men's side at 10:30, Indiana and UCLA. ESPN Plus, ACC Extra has, and ESPNU have all the women's action. Arizona State has the ESPNU game at 10 o'clock. And so that sets up everything for your Friday and your weekend. So let Philip Dujic referee for the year. He's a trendsetter. All right. So hi, Alex. Hi, Sharif. Hi, Harry. Morning, Jorge. Morning, Bart. Let's see. Morning, Alex. And Alex, yes. Alex's recycle reset is Muad'Dib, a Dune reference early in the morning. Let's see. Bart with a handful of things this morning. Morning 4 card, as we all remember and reference FEA at any given moment. Yes. Bart is saying Philip Dujic for Ref of the Year. He's a trendsetter. So there you go. That's the conversations. And once again, tonight, Star 94, a free side of Apple TV, 7:35 Stripes Countdown, Star 94, 8:40 kick on Apple TV. Then we'll be back at it again on Monday to talk about all this. We got playoffs in Major League Soccer. We'll get into the postseason in USL League One, USL Championship. Kaylor Hodges will join us on Tuesday to break everything down. And yes, we're going to try and track down Cano Smith from Rhode Island FC as well, as we've been taunting Michael Parkhurst about that all season long. And we're going to get into the playoffs. So there's a lot of stuff, trust me, a lot of stuff to get into here as the postseason heats up in Major League Soccer. You have college action, and you've got all the lower divisions here in the U.S. So for everybody here at SDH, it's another week of the morning show. Thanks for being a part of it, as you always are. Mucha plata, y'all play it safe. And since it is the end of the week, that means we go here. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy the match tonight. We'll be watching. We'll catch up with you later.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress, the streets